In this unit, we will start from reproduction. Now, reproduction in animals, reproduction is important for the existence of both plants and animals. Now, here we are talking about the animal reproduction. So, it is an essential physiological feature in animals to maintain the species. For the existence of species, reproduction is important. So basically, reproduction is the production of, that is giving rise to a new generation. Simply, that is what you call reproduction. In animal world, there we can identify two types of reproduction mechanisms, right? Two types of reproduction: asexual reproduction and sexual reproduction. So there are two types, asexual reproduction, two mechanisms actually, right? Asexual reproduction and sexual reproduction. The major difference between these two types are: in asexual reproduction, only one organism is needed. That organism can give rise to a new generation, new organisms. But in sexual reproduction, there should be a fusion of gametes. There should be two organisms for this mechanism. That is one of the major difference, right? So now we will go to the types of asexual and sexual reproduction. So first we will take this asexual reproduction, right? So there are three types. First one, budding. First method of asexual reproduction, budding. Now, for your diversity lessons, you have done about hydra. Most of these asexual reproduction mechanisms are found in invertebrates, mostly in invertebrates. So we can see this budding in hydra. Also in this mechanism, what happens is, I'm just drawing just a graphical representation of hydra. This is not the correct one, right? So now think this is the organism, hydra. Budding means from from the body, a small bud arises from the mature organism like this, right? Then after that, this bud grows and cuts off from the major organism, and this small one start to grow as a new organism. That is called budding. That is actually a bud grows from the mature organism, and then that bud grows in that gets separated from the mature parent organism, and then it grows as a new organism. That is budding, right? So one example for this is hydra. Then in the next method, that is called fragmentation and regeneration. Fragmentation and regeneration. Now, have you heard that sometimes, have you seen some worms? We say that even they are cut into two pieces, they can still uh, stay live and grow again back to a new organism, right? That is called fragmentation. That is simply a fragment. So fragmentation is this is seen mostly in uh, like invertebrates like worms. Now think this is a worm or such a organism, or say it's a worm. So this mature organism breaks into two or more pieces at a certain point in the body, and then that those two pieces grow uh, grow that grow means regeneration. This regeneration means these first they fragment, then regenerate. First these two pieces can go back can grow to mature organisms uh, as new organisms. So this single organism can give rise to two mature organisms. So that method is called fragmentation and regeneration, right? Okay, then the third one, the last one is parthenogenesis. Parthenogenesis, this is a little bit somewhat unusual way. In that case, there is a single cell. We call it an egg cell. This single cell can grow directly to a mature organism. Like without normally in like if it is in sexual reproduction, uh, an egg cell has to fuse with a sperm or male cell to grow to a new organism. But in this parthenogenesis, only that single cell, the egg cell, can grow to a mature cell. This happens in like insects, like bee. In bees, they have this parthenogenesis. Only a single cell can grow to a mature organism, right? So, in all these are the three methods in methods of asexual reproduction. So the major thing is they are ploidy level. Do you know what the ploidy level is? That means they can be either haploid or diploid. That means like in humans we have two N. We will learn it with them in genetics, but for now there are number of chromosomes. You have learned them in mitosis and meiosis. Now here the mechanism of division is mitosis. So that their ploidy level does not change. If the mature the adult parent organism is diploid, then the next generation is also diploid. So their ploidy level does not change in asexual reproduction, right? And only it is another major some advantages are in this asexual reproduction. Only a single organism is needed. So it's saving some time. There is no like if it is for sexual reproduction, they have to find a mate uh, uh, to have the sexual reproduction. So in asexual reproduction, they don't need a mate. So it's like saving time. So we accept it as like a way of time saving. So it's in asexual reproduction, it saves time because it needs only a single organism, and also it doesn't change the ploidy level. Another advantage is normally in asexual reproduction, it is possible to produce a large number of organisms in a limited time. right? So there are some advantages. Now we will go to the next mechanism, sexual reproduction. So here the major difference is it needs two or we can't say two organisms, it needs two types of cells. In sexual reproduction, mostly vertebrates, higher animals, they have sexual reproduction. Asexual reproduction is found mostly in invertebrates. Sexual reproduction mostly in vertebrates, higher animals. They have sexual reproduction. In sexual reproduction, these organisms, animals, produce two types of cells. These are called gametes. Normally, most of the animals are diploid organisms and they produce some haploid. Diploid and haploid means diploid, that is the number of the sets of chromosomes they have. Here, diploid 2 means 2n. They have two sets. Haploid means n, right? So, we like take humans as the example. We are diploid. So, these diploid organisms make haploid cells. These are cells called gametes, right? So, in sexual reproduction, organisms produce a type of cells called gametes. Then there are two types of gametes, male gametes and female gametes. Male gametes, the sperms, female gametes, the egg. Normally, egg of the female gamete is larger than the male gametes. That's why I drew this female gamete larger in size than the male gamete, right? So these are called gametes. Male gametes, no, we call them sperms. Female gametes, egg, right? So these are haploid. Both of them are N. Then these two gametes in sexual reproduction, these two gametes join together and form a single cell called zygote. This process is called fertilization. So then this fertilized zygote develops into a mature organism, right? So this is basically sexual reproduction. They produce haploid gametes. There are two types of gametes, male gametes and female gametes. Male gametes are the sperms and female gametes are the eggs. Then they fuse, an egg cell fuses with a sperm, a male gamete, and that process is called fertilization and produces a single cell called zygote that can develop into a mature organism. This mature organism is then 2n because the two haploid cells join together, right? So that is the sexual reproduction. In this case, we have to consider about the sexual in the some of the organisms. Sometimes now this is the process. Now, these male and female gametes can be produced. When we take organisms, they can be produced by a single organism or in two different organisms. So, right, so that is a different concept. So, in sexual reproduction, we have to consider whether the organism is bisexual or unisexual. So, now here in the right side, I will right? The left side is the sexual reproduction, but here in this right side, I will write another different concept that is related to this. That is, there are two types of organisms, right? Bisexual organisms or unisexual organisms, right? Right. Unisexual means uni. Uni means one, right? They have only one, a single sex. They can be the if you take a mature organism, that can be either a male, right, or female, right? If you take the adult organism, that can be a male or it can be a female. That means this male person, male organism can produce sperms or male gametes. Female organism can produce female gametes or eggs. Then these are called unisexual organisms. But there is another type of organisms called bisexual. Bi means two. So that means a single organism has both sexual types. They can produce both male gametes and female gametes in a single organism, right? So there is only one organism. That adult organism can produce both male gametes and female gametes. So there is no need of another organism to have sexual reproduction. No need to find a mate for that, right? So this is example is normally the invertebrates, that is like earthworm, some earthworms is an example. So some invertebrates are there are bisexual organisms, right? But in unisexual, example is we can simply take humans. Humans are the adult is either a male or a female, right? So the male can produce the sperms and the female can produce the eggs. So a single adult organism can produce only a single type of gametes, right? So uh, this is another concept we have to consider when discussing about the sexual reproduction, right? So, the sexual reproduction is the organisms produce. Now, come back to the left side of the screen. The uh, adult organism produces female gametes and male gametes in sexual reproduction. There are two types of gametes, and then these are haploid. Then they join together and produce a single cell called zygote. That process is fertilization, and then the zygote can develop into a mature diploid organism. That is the sexual reproduction. And when you take this process, fertilization, again there are uh, two ways of this fertilization. Now, earlier in evolution, in earlier stages, organisms lived in aquatic environments, right? So they had, like, take fish as an example, right? They live in an aquatic environment. Then this mature organism, now think it's a fish, right? I'm just taking an example just to show you, right? This mature aquatic organism can lay their eggs. Eggs means this female egg, haploid female gamete, can lay their eggs to this surrounding aquatic environment. So the environment is wet. It is not dry. They live in water. So these eggs can stay alive in the aquatic environment. And then another male organism can lay male gametes into the same environment. Then these male gametes can swim or can move to the egg cell and fertilize. So then the fertilization occurs outside of their body. The the fusion of the male gametes and female gametes, that process happens outside of their organisms. That is not inside their body. It's in the water outside of their body. It happens in their environment. This kind of a fertilization is called external fertilization, right? So one method of fertilization is external fertilization. So then we will go to the next type. Then there is the second way. Now this is the previous one. External fertilization occurs in aquatic organisms, but think now in evolution, organisms moved to terrestrial environments later on. So now think they live in a dry terrestrial environment. So their surrounding environment is not wet. Now think about the humans. We live on earth. We live on not in aquatic. We are terrestrial organisms. So if those terrestrial organisms release their eggs and sperms to the surrounding, they will dry. So, as an adaptation to this movement of organisms to terrestrial environments, another method of mechanism of fertilization developed called internal fertilization. So, in internal fertilization, the male has to deposit their sperms in female vagina, in the female body. The male has to deposit their sperms uh, in the female organism. So the fertilization occurs inside the female body. Again, this happens, but um, but this occurs inside the body. So that is not in the external environment. So that is called internal fertilization. So there are two types of fertilization called external fertilization and internal fertilization. Right. So that's about the sexual reproduction.